Premiere Wednesday, December 12th on the CW.
This is the Emmy Award-winning KTLA Prime News.
Good evening, I'm Marta Waller.
I'm Lonnie Coombs.
We begin tonight with a raging wildfire that's burning in the hills of Malibu.
Tens of thousands of people are evacuated and dozens of homes are burned.
For the second time in just over a month, another wildfire is burning out of control in Malibu, destroying dozens of multi-million-dollar homes and forcing the evacuation of residents still weary from the last big fire. Today's blaze, named the Corral Fire, broke out around 3:30 this morning, fanned by strong Santa Ana winds that forecasters had been predicting all week. The fire started along a dirt road near Corral Canyon and has since burned more than 4,500 acres. LA County helicopters will continue water drops throughout the night to prevent any further destruction. But as Bill Smith reports, for some 50 homeowners, the damage has already been done.
It was a snowstorm of fire over Malibu, burning embers instead of snowflakes. Or worse yet, a hungry monster devouring homes in the hills above the ocean. And by morning, sunrise revealed disaster for more than 50 homeowners, nothing but rubble remaining. Residents telling KTLA they fled the flames and then feared the worst.
Well, one of the neighbors came down to the RV park, and I asked him, and he said my house burned down. And my wife was just a basket case.
But that was a mistake. The Bennett house was not gone, and what a wonderful shock that was.
We came around the bend down there, and here's the house. Standing. We couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable.
By day, the flames were often 100 feet tall, sending clouds of smoke 3,000 feet into the Malibu sky. But this time, the winds cooperated, and the air attack beat back the fire.
We count ourselves blessed.
Yeah, this is such a beautiful area, but you've heard this one many times. Is it worth it?
Well, we've been in the canyon since 1978 and have been through about 5 big fires. This one came a little more quickly because of where it started.
Where it likely started was at the top of Corral Canyon, a late-night rave party as wild as the firestorm itself, say the neighbors.
It's pretty uncontrolled, and people heard people coming down in cars screaming about 3 in the morning and laughing, and the fire was following them, very quickly.
When the fire began, the Santa Ana wind was fierce, estimated 60 miles an hour at times. There is no stopping fire with a howling wind at its back.
The A-frame on the corner and a couple houses here and the propane tanks were all popping, and so I decided I saw my back porch on fire.
Now, Matt Davidson is not a Malibu multimillionaire. He recently inherited his $350,000 Bentley, which, as you see, survived. I see this beautiful car beside us. That's not what you expect to see up in a fire zone. It's safe. The Bentley is okay.
Yeah, but, you know, a guy over right up there on Lookout, he lost, you know, $1 million worth of cars just a block up.
So those whose homes did not burn embraced, but did not forget their neighbors who were burned out by a firestorm so hot, so angry, and for a while, so invincible. So while the total number of homes lost in this fire is far less than the terrible fires of a month ago, still, for those who lost everything, this fire is as bad as it gets. In Malibu, Bill Smith, KTLA News.
Tens of thousands of people are spending the night away from home after authorities ordered them to evacuate the fire in Malibu. Maya Sanchez has that part of our coverage. Maya?
It was a surreal scene, a normally blue ocean view tinged with an eerie brown generated by a wind-driven brush fire in Malibu. Fire officials began alerting people to evacuate about 4:30 a.m.
When I ran to my car and I came back, I saw all the orange glow and the flames, and then that's, you know, when we got out.
Later in the day, flames crept closer to Pacific Coast Highway, and several people at Malibu Beach RV Park were ordered to leave. They parked their RVs on PCH, turning it into a temporary evacuation center.
They knocked on my door and said, you have to evacuate immediately, not 5 minutes from now, immediately. So we did.
Los Angeles County Fire says more than 15,000 Malibu residents were evacuated. People left their homes behind from PCH to Mulholland and from Trancas Canyon to Corral Canyon. Some sought relief from the Red Cross. The agency set up 2 evacuation centers, Agora High School in Agora Hills and Channel Islands High School in Oxnard.
We're ready to set up cots, and we have showers ready.
Anna Gallagher arrived for help after watching her home burn. Gallagher says she and her dog Pebbles barely escaped injury as she drove away in her Jeep while flames raged in the rear of the vehicle. Moments earlier, she had tried desperately to convince her friend to leave with her.
I just have to grab her and push her. I said, "You got to get out. Your house is on fire. My car is on fire."
Representatives with the Federal Emergency Management Agency were on hand to offer assistance. They say victims can expect a response from FEMA as soon as 2 weeks. FEMA says the federal disaster declared after last month's fires remains in effect.
What it really means is that these people do not have to wait for a presidential declaration. They can register with FEMA right now. Then they'll be able to start getting grant money moving their way.
To register with FEMA, log on to our website at KTLA.com. Despite Malibu's vulnerability to fire, several evacuees tell me they're not about to let that danger chase them away from a place they have come to know as paradise.
This is Mother Nature, and I like it here very much.
In Malibu, Maya Sanchez, KTLA News.
Many of the residents who left their homes with just a few minutes' notice don't know tonight if their homes are still standing. And it's going to be a long night as they wait for word on when they can return home and what they may find. Greg Weissman is in the Malibu Bowl area and joins us now with more on the story. Greg, how are some of those people doing tonight?
Well, I'll tell you, some tense moments, Marta, for people who don't know the fate of their homes. But we are standing in front of one of the real success stories of this fire, a home that firefighters were able to save. If you look right here, this is where a wooden deck once stood. And earlier today, flames swept up this west part of Corral Canyon, lit this deck on fire. But firefighters, strike team right nearby, saw it, and they were able to gain access inside the home. They started fighting this fire from inside the home, and they were able to save it. There is some damage, but they saved it. But some residents and some homes here in Malibu just weren't so lucky. Tonight, as flames continue to burn along Malibu's Corral Canyon, residents who evacuated wait down the hill along PCH to hear word about if their home was one of the estimated 50 burned.
It's an area that hasn't burned since the 70s, so it's been, really safe. But sumac has been building up there for almost 30 years. So it's been, everybody's fear.
And this was the fear. Dozens of homes burned to the ground. The Kennedys' Isle of View home along Seabreeze Drive completely destroyed. For evacuees, not knowing can be very hard. So Wink Roberts asked for us to check on his El Nido area home. We found it unscathed by fire and in one piece. Hi, Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Roberts. This is Greg at Channel 5. We're at your home, and I wanted to let you know that your home survived.
It's there, 285.
Your home is there. Mary and Mike Monsiagon's home came dangerously close to burning, but thanks to a diligent strike team, it was saved from fire once again. So you made it through another fire?
Yes, we did. We're very thankful to, I think it was Long Beach Fire Department. I think it was Engine 5 and 11.
Larry Dumas and his dog Spud are also waiting for word on their home that Larry has owned since the 70s.
There's been a few fires up here. We're here 30 years. So there's been a few fires in Corral. This is the worst.
Mandatory evacuations remain in place at this hour and will for the foreseeable future. Winds right now, we can tell you, are calm, and that is a very good thing, but as we all know, that can change at a moment's notice. I'm Greg Weissman, live in Malibu. Marta, back to you.
You know, Greg, I know the fire's far from out, but protecting the structures remains a top priority. Just how are the firefighters going about protecting homes now?
Well, I'll tell you, structure protection is high priority here tonight, and I can tell you that there are strike teams set up all over this area. It's really pretty basic. The strike teams are strategically set up, and there are patrols that go around all of these neighborhoods, and they look for hot spots, they look for any embers that are flaring up, and they call those strike teams in, and they hit it, and they hit it hard before it can go any further. And I can tell you that Engine Company 97 out of Azusa is parked right near our van tonight. They are on duty until about 4 a.m. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Greg, for your report. Lonnie?
A big question in the minds of many tonight, why did this fire cause so much damage when fire responders were supposedly in place, ready to defend at any wind-driven wildfire? Let's go live to Rachel Calderon for more on that part of the story and on what officials are saying tonight about their response. Rachel, what can you tell us?
Good evening, Lonnie. We are here at Civic Center Way, just off the Pacific Coast Highway. This is a staging area for some 1,700 firefighters. Many of them are trying to get a good night's sleep tonight before they have to go out again tomorrow. Now, the officials tell me that because so many of these firefighters were on standby throughout the week and ready to go at a moment's notice, that prevented this fire from becoming a much bigger problem. A DC-10 supertanker attacks flames from thousands of feet above Malibu. 15 helicopters rely on whatever resources are in the backyards of million-dollar homes, while 1,700 firefighters on some 400 engines face the wildfires from the ground. Fire officials call it an unprecedented coordination of resources from Northern California to Southern California.
The plans in place and the execution of those plans kept this from being 250 homes.
LA County Fire Chief Michael Freeman says 15 strike crews positioned in Camarillo earlier this week were the first to respond when the fire broke just before 4 this morning. But the fire was already on a fast track to destruction.
Even with that tremendous amount of resources available just 20 to 30 minutes away, the fire still was extremely difficult to contain. These fuel conditions are among the worst in recorded history, and until we get some rain, it's very difficult.
Although 2 super scoopers and a few helicopters were diverted to assist in a smaller fire in Santa Clarita, the fire in Malibu received almost all the resources available. But the departments are using today's events to encourage people who live here to clear the brush and use more fire retardant materials on their homes. Now, the LA County Fire Department tells me that they will be using helicopters throughout the night to focus on the eastern section of this fire. Now, fire officials tell me that barring any significant change in tonight's weather, they expect containment levels to double by this time tomorrow. Live in Malibu, Rachel Calderon, back to you.
Rachel, what else helped these officials prepare besides having the strike teams in place and having all of these firefighters on standby all week?
Well, CAL FIRE tells me that they were relying heavily on computer models to not only help them forecast the weather conditions out here, but also to help them calculate the speed of how fast a fire would spread if one were to break out. Unfortunately, those computer models were incredibly accurate and were able to help them stop this fire and help them contain it much faster than they hoped to. Back to you.
Very interesting. Thank you, Rachel. Marta?
Okay, well, the winds have died down since the fire started early this morning, but those firefighters still have a lot of work on their hands.
Joining us now on the phone is Captain Mike Brown from the LA County Fire Department. Thanks for talking with us tonight, Captain Brown.
Yes, good afternoon.
I know you have your hands full. Tell us, what are the challenges that the firefighters are facing with this blaze?
Well, of course, with this particular blaze, we were faced with some high winds, some 30-40 mile-an-hour winds. Since we've had some die down of the winds, we've, of course, been able to get our resources into place and kind of work the fire at its hottest flanks. With the wind-driven fire, of course, the fire was able to make an aggressive spread towards the southwest and west area, and then begin to burn back on itself with the wind shift. So that was probably our most problematic problem on this fire, is just the wind.
Captain Brown, Marta Waller here. If the firefighters, they were very prepared for this particular fire, but if there really were enough resources, and I know we heard, Chief Freeman talking about this, but if there were enough resources, then why did, about 5 times as many homes and structures burn in this fire than last month's much larger fire?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to fathom, but, we actually had quite a few resources available in position. We had planned for this fire. As far as our staffing, we had augmented staffing. We had 3 engine strike teams in place at the ready. And once this fire broke out, we were able to request those resources to the area. The problem with this fire is that one of the problems is that it began at early morning hours. So that's like 3:27 is when the fire actually broke out. So we actually, this was a time where people were still asleep. The fire had a chance to make a run. And then here again, the fire was actually fanned by wind. So when you've got a wind-driven fire, it's very difficult to dictate exactly how far and how quick the fire fire will spread. I mean, we had times where the fire actually jumped ahead of itself by half a mile. So, trying to get the resources in the area to make an effective stand was very difficult in this fire.
Captain, I know it's early, but do we know at this point what caused the fire?
Well, right now, I can tell you that the Los Angeles County Fire Department and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, along with CAL FIRE, had sent investigators to the point of origin at Mesa Peak Mountain Way and Corral Canyon, and they did determine that this fire was definitely human in nature and very suspicious, and they're, of course, looking for the assistance of public who may have seen anything in this area. There's been a lot of reports of the possibilities up in that area with kids and teenagers and that sort of thing, and we're just hoping that we can get some assistance by the public if anyone was out and about towards at that time who knows a little information that could help us with the exact cause.
There are a lot of questions here about, do the authorities believe there were enough precautions taken by city officials and residents since last month's fire that, should have prevented so much damage from this fire? And I think, some of that has to do with maintaining brush clearance and being even more vigilant. I know that if this was something that was caused perhaps by kids and because of the early morning, it might have been more difficult. But do they think there were enough precautions taken?
We do believe that there was enough precautions taken, brush clearance provided by homeowners in the area. We were, of course, very fortunate to learn from the last fires, and of course, with every fire, we learned something from it, firefighters and as well as residents. As far as fire department officials, we do our very best to inform the public as to what they can do in the event of another fire. Here we are again with the same situation we had a month ago, and I can tell you that a lot of times here again with the wind, no matter how much prevention you do and how much brush clearance you do, the wind is going to dictate the spread of this fire. And that's exactly what we had here, some 50-mile-an-hour gust that was able to fan the fire. I mean, we had some, 40, 50-mile flame lengths, and that's enough to do some heavy damage. Luckily, we only had 6 minor injuries in this fire, and that's right now was the biggest thing, is not to avoid any further injury of firefighters or personnel or civilians in the area, and of course, try to minimize the damage of the homes.
Captain Brown, we were just watching some pictures of the DC-10 supertanker and then also of the helicopters. I know you had 15 aircraft out there earlier today. Being able to get that aircraft out there this rapidly, how much of a difference do you think that has made in your firefighting effort and making a stand on this fire?
The helicopters and the fixed wings made an enormous difference in this fire, and quite honest with you, it was definitely amazing to see how quick we can get those resources allocated to this fire. Here again, we had additional helicopters pre-deployed and staffed for the event of a fire, and just amazing to see the aircraft that was on the fire, including the DC-10. Everyone was kind of waiting to see what that thing would actually do. Just to see 12,000 gallons come out of the belly of a DC-10 was pretty amazing in itself. We try to use all the resources that we had on the fire, helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, DC-10s, super scoopers, and try to place them in the areas where we couldn't access with our engine companies.
Captain, at this point, what percentage have you been able to what percentage of containment have you been able to achieve now, and when do you expect the fire to be fully contained?
Well, at this time, the percentage is still holding at 25% and 4,650 acres. We hope to have a better containment by morning. There's still some area of fire burning in the Corral Canyon, near in a bowl area in front of or near Corral Canyon, and that's definitely still an area of concern because there's still some open line that we have to construct over the night. So, although the fire helicopters and engine crews may appear to not be working at this time, we have hand crews that are currently cutting line around the fire to hopefully get a better sense of containment, if you will.
Okay, thank you very much, Captain Brown, for taking the time to talk to us. We appreciate it. Good luck out there, and
be safe.
Thanks to all of the firefighters out on the lines for us.
Thank you.
Okay, good night. And we want to update you now on the latest numbers from the Malibu fire. At last count, 49 homes have been destroyed. Most or all of them multi-million-dollar houses along Latigo Canyon, Malibu Bowl, and the Seabreeze tract of El Nido. More than 4,600 acres have burned. The cause of the fire is still not completely known, but they have said it is human caused. Some 1,700 firefighters are battling the flames. 6 have suffered minor injuries. Mandatory evacuations are in effect for up to 20,000 residents from Corral Canyon to Trancas Canyon and Mulholland Highway to the coastline. We're told that some of the evacuees are being allowed to return home tonight. And late this evening, authorities said, as we just said, that fire was started by human activity, and they are asking anyone who saw anything suspicious to call the Corral Fire Task Force at 818-878-1808.
Well, Marta, you know, whenever we're talking fires, we've got to talk about the weather. The weather outlook is both good and bad. On the good side, temperatures will trickle down over the next few days and winds will change to a more favorable pattern. Looking at some current conditions, you can see that only a few light winds remain, but the bad news is that the humidity will stay at critical levels in parts of both Ventura and Los Angeles counties. This has prompted the National Weather Service to extend the red flag warning through 6 p.m. Sunday, but this is only for Los Angeles and Ventura counties. As for Malibu, the 5-day outlook continues with light winds through the start of the work week. At the same time, the temperatures will gradually slide back to normal. And we'll have a complete forecast for you a little later in the show.
And just ahead, we'll have a live update on the Malibu fire. Plus, we'll tell you which celebrities are affected by the blaze. We'll be right back.
KTLA's 60-hour Retro Marathon is brought to you by Carl's Jr.
The Nova Bar and Restaurant in San Francisco can make you one for $12.50. You can special order one at the Landmark Restaurant in New York for $21. And the Backyard Restaurant in LA can make you one for $18 if you call in advance. And now, Carl's Jr. has one for about $5. The first Portobello Mushroom Burger at a fast food place. The Portobello Mushroom $6 burger with Angus beef, only at Carl's Jr.
This Thanksgiving season, everything changes. The Chevy Red Tag event is blowing into town. And while supplies last, well-qualified buyers now get 0% financing for 60 months on Chevys like the HHR, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Tahoe with its best-in-class available fuel economy. That's $78.15 in average finance savings.
It's Toyota's biggest Thanksgiving celebration ever. For a limited time, choose $3,500 cash back or 0 APR for up to 60 months on a new 07 Tundra. And for the first time ever, get $1,000 cash back on a new 07 Tacoma or choose 2.9 financing. Toyota's biggest Thanksgiving celebration ends soon.
We make it easy, easy on you.
See your Southern California Toyota dealer today.
Let's take you live back to the Malibu Bowl area for a quick update on this fire. Greg Weissman is joining us now with more. Greg?
Marta, behind me is Engine Company 97 out of Azusa, one of the many strike teams that are here in Corral Canyon, keeping an eye on structure protection. So far, an estimated 50 homes have been lost to this wildfire, which started just after 3 this morning. A cause still under investigation, but they are at this point calling it suspicious. Much of the damage is centered around the Coral Canyon and Malibu Bowl area, the Bowl area believed to be the area of origin. There have been many homes saved here. That, of course, a testament to the firefighters and allocation of resources. Thousands of residents remain evacuated at this hour, and no word about when they may be able to return. So far, no fatalities, only 6 minor injuries to firefighters. That's the very latest here in Malibu. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Greg. As the ferocious wildfire burned brush and trees and polluted the air, it also caused a power outage. About 1,300 homes are without electricity in the Malibu area. The blackout is concentrated near Corral Canyon and Lookout Road. A spokesperson for Southern California Edison says its crews are ready to restore service, but they must wait until the utility company is allowed back into burn areas before they can begin work.
Many of the homes threatened or damaged by today's fire in Malibu belong to celebrities. The LA Times is reporting that Flea, the bassist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, lost one of his Malibu homes in the blaze. The $4.8 million house is in the hills west of Corral Canyon and was apparently up for sale. The fire also reportedly damaged the home of Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose. Some multi-million-dollar estates threatened today include those owned by Don Henley of the Eagles, director James Cameron, and Cher. More news ahead when we come back.
I go to KTLA.com 2, 3, maybe 4 times a day.
Just to keep me posted.
See what's going on in the world.
Both locally and across the nation.
Sometimes I'll use it for traffic, especially in the morning. Weather's right up in the corner.
12-hour forecast.
Other times it's more for entertainment.
Must-see video.
Those clips, you're not going to get those anywhere else.
You can go behind the scenes.
We love the gossip.
Traffic, news, weather, entertainment, video. What else am I missing?
It's kind of like everything in one website. Yeah.
When you want something, you want it right then.
I can get exactly what I need, get in and get out. Anything you're looking for is at KTLA.com. It's perfect.
KTLA 60-hour Retro Marathon is brought to you by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa.
Television, Los Angeles.
Hey, Jack. I thought you were getting a Toyota Corolla.
Well, I was. Then I found out this Mazda 3's got more interior room, more standard horsepower, and been getting some great reviews. I don't see why anyone would get a Corolla.
Right now, get 0.0% APR financing on the 08 Mazda 3, 4-door, and 5-door. Discover a better way, the Zoom Zoom way, at your Mazda dealer now.
It's the season to shop, and the Red Tags are coming back for the GMC Red Tag event. And right now, they're bringing the best values of the season. Look for the Red Tag and get 0% financing for 60 months on remaining 2007 GMC light-duty trucks and SUVs while supplies last. That's 0% financing for 5 full years on new 2007 GMC models for an average finance savings of $7,268 on the Yukon XL. The Red Tag event. See some red, save some green.
The Children's Television Programming Report is located in KTLA's public file and is available for viewing during normal business hours at KTLA, 5800 Sunset Boulevard, Los Angeles.
Welcome back to Prime News. Besides the Malibu fire, of which we have been reporting, there was also some big sports news today, especially if you're a UCLA football fan. The Bruins hosted the number 9 ranked Oregon Ducks at the Rose Bowl, and Carl Durrell's players had upset on their minds. UCLA with a 9-0 lead late in the fourth quarter. Craig Shepard rushes 20 yards here for the touchdown. The Bruins go up 16-0, and that's how it would end. UCLA knocks Oregon out of the Rose Bowl picture. The win also helps USC, who can wrap up another Pac-10 crown and earn the right to play in the Rose Bowl with a win next week against UCLA. But the Bruins aren't out of it either. If they can pull off a win against the Trojans and Arizona beats Arizona State next Saturday, UCLA will be playing in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. That's it for sports. That's it for Prime News this Saturday night. Thanks for watching.
Marta and I will see you back here tomorrow night at 10.
Up next, our 60-hour Retro Marathon continues with Peter Gunn. Have a very good night.